Every single episode of Cold Ones has a TV with a Nintendo 64 game intro playing in the background. Cold Ones is one of my favorite channels on YouTube, and something interesting I thought I could do is to create an N64 cartridge that could play a title screen for them to use in the background of their videos. Basically what I wanted to do with this was just a title screen, no game. I needed the Cold Ones logo on it, and I needed I thought in the background of the logo, it's kind of a pan across like a model of their recording room. Finally, I want it to be able to be played on a cartridge that you could just put in N64 and it works. So this is a pretty tough goal, and it took me a while to find a way to do this, but you can write N64 games from scratch. But I definitely didn't do that because I don't know C, and I also don't have 9 monitors like this guy, so I don't think I can do anything close to what he can do. Another thing is this program called Ultra ED, which you can create N64 games on there. I don't think it's very well suited for what I'm trying to do, especially because it's pretty new in development. So at this point I decided pretty much my only option was to mod a game, which is something I've done before. At first, of course, I tried Mario 64. The title screen of Mario 64, at least the pre-rendered gameplay scenes, you can't really change them very easily. As far as I could tell from what people told me, they're hard-coded pretty much. So the next most modded game for the N64 is probably Ocarina of Time. So I started to look at Ocarina of Time modding tools, and it looked like I probably could do what I wanted to do. Before learning any of the tools, I just made kind of a mock-up model of the Cold Ones room, because that's kind of the centerpiece of all this, is I'm making a model of their room. That's really the main piece of original content that I'm providing in order to make this mod, because I'm going to be stealing the logo from them because it's for them, it's their logo. So next thing I did, I downloaded Sharp Ocarina, which is a level editor for Ocarina of Time, once I had kind of made a more fleshed out model of the Cold Ones room. So I had to kind of take the model of the Cold Ones room back and forth between the program as I started to see more at what it would look like in an N64 game, and certain modern modeling techniques I used created issues. So I had to basically recreate some of the objects in a more basic way in order for it to be able to be used on an Ocarina of Time mod. So around this time I learned how to make a cutscene, which is what enables me to make this into a title screen. So at this point I had a working title screen where I could launch the ROM and it would go into a cutscene sweeping over the area I created, but I still didn't have the Cold Ones logo displayed where the Ocarina of Time logo would be. It still said Ocarina of Time Master Quest over everything. It actually became a huge challenge looking for a way to get the Cold Ones name up on the title screen, and I wasn't really able to find anything through conventional Google searches of Ocarina of Time texture editor for some reason, but eventually I found this program called ZZ Text View, and it works really well, super easy. Yeah, and I was able to actually really quickly change over that. I changed over everything on the title screen. I added a cool little watermark with my name on it at the bottom. It doesn't even really look like it's from Ocarina of Time anymore, which I was really satisfied with. So at this point I had the title screen with the name on it, I had the cutscene correct, I had the camera, pretty much everything was essentially what I wanted it to look like, but it didn't loop, which any good title screen loops, so you can just kind of observe that, and just in the background you don't want it to stop in the middle, especially for this purpose I need it to loop. So this is actually a lot harder than I thought. There's not kind of a stock feature in Sharp Ocarina, as far as I know, where you can do that. So I ended up asking the Discord, and this guy gave me some code and he said make a custom actor, add that to the game, and I was like, sweet. And then I took probably a week of working on this to figure out how to do that. So yeah, and then I was able to loop it, and it worked great, worked perfect. Thank you to that guy for your code. I'll probably put some shit up here for you, bro. So the last problem I had is when it would loop, the camera would glitch, and I figured out I would probably have to first of all I didn't write this code, so I'm not really familiar with how I would fix it. So what I did instead was fade from black at the start of the cutscene, and then it faded to black at the end of the cutscene. So basically at the start of the loop, it would fade in from black, and then it would, at the end of the loop, fade to black, and then it would be at black when the loop starts, so it would fade from black, so you wouldn't see the camera like fuck up and go all crazy. So at this point, to jump to the physical hardware, I borrowed my friend Dylan's N64. I don't own one, but he let me borrow, which was sick. So it took me a while to find a flash cartridge that I could use on this. So to give a breakdown of all my options that were available, so the Retro Blaster is definitely just like the best cartridge out there. It's like you can program, it's basically a board you can program and put it into cartridges. This is how a lot of custom N64 cartridges are made, but they're always sold out because they're so good, and it's just like a guy making them, so you can't like make enough for like people to like to sell them to everyone, you know. So then there's some other options, some other companies like Mordoff Games also sold out. There's the EverDrive 64, which is like really expensive, but is like a perfect flash card for the N64. You can put a lot of games on there, but you know, I'm not gonna like buy that and send it to them. Like ideally, if I really needed to, I probably would, but that's like a huge waste of money. So I bought this shitty fake EverDrive called the ED64 that actually works really well, and that's what I decided to use. This one only cost me about like $70. Pretty bad, but like for what I'm looking for, and like it was in like prime shipping, you know, like for how fast I was getting this, for how like it's such a high demand type of item, I wasn't that mad paying $70, honestly. So I got the ED64, waited a couple days, it came in, I put the ROM on the SD card, and it didn't work. So the ED64 OS is open source, so I tried a couple things. I tried like switching out to older versions, newer versions, modded versions, none of that worked. So I still wasn't getting results at this point, and then I realized I don't have the expansion pack on this, which is necessary for a lot of games. I was looking at those games, they weren't loading, and I'm like, oh, I don't think Ocarina of Time needs that, but I looked it up in Ocarina of Time Master Quest, the debug version, which is what I made this mod on, does require it. So I went and got one for like a decent price, but I'm gonna send that over with the cartridge in case they don't have one, and I also don't need it. So yeah, I booted up with the pack, with the expansion pack, and it worked. And I was so over the moon about it. I was like, God damn, this is what I've been looking for. Cause you know, I actually didn't even know if like even if everything went correctly, if this would work, like even if it would work like on an actual EverDrive. Like I just didn't know if like the ROM was like equipped to like load on an N64 correctly. But it ran like perfectly. Like it there could have been frame rate drops, but nothing noticeable. I think the way I modeled the room worked out very well, and I was extremely happy about that. Something I didn't realize that the ED64 actually helped me out a lot was that it had a PAL to NTSC switch. So I think Cold Ones, they probably have a PAL console, because that's usually the type of console they have in Australia for the region, and so they can switch that over to the cartridge, and ideally it'll work. I actually don't know if my ROM's gonna work in PAL mode, but let's hope it does. So at this point, I had the cartridge, and I just needed to make it a Cold Ones cartridge. When I originally thought of this idea, I was going to use a Retro Blaster and like order a cartridge. It would look like an old N64 cartridge. I have this shitty plastic one. Whatever, we worked with it. It's red, it's Cold Ones, it worked. I printed out a really bad sticker label, and I included some more for them because it's probably going to break off at some point. But yeah, it's a cartridge with a label, and that's good enough for me. So at this point it was done. I just need to ship it out, which is easier said than done, to Australia. Packed it away with a letter on how to use it, just saying what's up. And yeah, so this is where my part of the story ends. I'm sending it to the P.O. box. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, that would suck a lot because I spent a lot of time doing this. But at least it's documented. You guys can see what I was trying to do. But if it works on Cold Ones, that's amazing. So by the time I upload this, I received like confirmation on the tracking that it's been received by their P.O. box. So when this goes up, they'll have it. I'll put it up on the Reddit, and then, you know, maybe a couple days later, like a few weeks later, they might pull it out and see if it works. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and have a good one. What's up, y'all? Make sure to subscribe to my
my TikTok, Twitter as well, Instagram. You know, these projects take a while, but on those platforms you might get more updates. So drop a follow. Peace and blessings.